Hello! Welcome back. I am Gosha and this is Space Academy Class 2. Last time we talked about the feeling that some things are not really okay in the reality around you. Today we will continue deepening the subject a bit more because opening yourself to the possibility that things are not as you have been told is the key to understand many future topics. Mind open. Let's begin.
Children, when at a certain phase of their development, are given a frame of reality designed especially for them. A construct based on tooth fairies and Santa Claus that makes them feel comfortable and helps them understand what goes on around. Children rely on the adults for answers, and whatever we give them will be real. That will be their reality, just because we said so. It will be false from our point of view, but totally true to the little ones. We are the authority, after all. If we tell them that their hamster who just died packed and decided to go on a trip, they will be waiting for the postcard. Unfortunately, once we, as children, grow up and become so-called adults, the process of looking to others for answers about what is real and what is not continues, where now we look up to other types of authorities to inform us if something is real or not. We have been conditioned this way, to always depend on the approval and guidance of the elders, someone who knows more than us as authorities. Governments, teachers, scientists, priests, TV, someone to tell us what is false and what is real. The population is accustomed to being given ready and digested information. Only few dare to question deeply. And so we let the authorities provide us with their construct of reality, barely ever questioning. One we followed as toddlers gets replaced by another, seemingly more sophisticated one, more logical, more certain, based on facts. Deep inside, we remain children. Moreover, humans have a strong tendency to follow whatever their pack dictates because they are social animals, and thinking on their own is deemed as dangerous because it may cause them to be isolated from the rest of the pack, placing their survival at risk. Due to this, most humans are simply too much into their own survival to bother wasting time and energy in questioning things that don't have to do with their immediate needs. And all this is by design, because what the ones that control the planet want is to have the population completely dependent on them and on what they want to give them as a reality. Why? You will understand more as we go on. However, with most humans still not willing to question, many of us, and more each single day, are now at the stage in which we are waking up to the fact that there is more to the officially presented facts and to the illusion of many of the mass-produced narratives. You are one of them. You start to question if that hamster really left for a trip. Did he really? You start to question that imposed version of the reality.
But one could argue, what is reality anyway? Okay, without getting too philosophical at this point, just a little bit, one could say that from the personal point of view,
what each person sees as reality is, by definition, reality for them. And from their point of view and awareness, that is reality and nothing else. Saying that one reality is more true or false than another would only apply from another point of view. Just as the tooth fairy is reality to your child, but not to you. But it's what she or he believes, so that's the reality. In this sense, then, the reality wouldn't be and isn't, in most cases, something fixed. It's simply what the person believes. The beliefs, systems of values, points of view are relative to each person, to the capacity of understanding. It's what forms their reality. What follows from this is that there are as many realities as beliefs, and there is only a collective reality when many people agree between them. So a collective reality is a series of agreements, and the most dominant ones are the ones that the collective will accept as true. But as the reality itself can only be a series of agreements between two or more people, who determines in a society like ours what reality is or is not, other than those who control those agreements? It is here where we encounter a problem. World governments imposing a well-designed reality on a mass of people who have delegated their power to decide for themselves the course of their lives. Tooth fairy realities disguised as facts, imposed by who they perceive as authorities, fed to them not from the position of offering knowledge, but of imposing it in order to acquire personal gain, forcing onto them collectively agreed on beliefs, hence creating a collective reality. Because, as we saw before, collective reality is a series of agreements among people.
In this class, since it's still in the introductory phase, I will not go into each one of those realities disguised as facts. And I also won't be able to explain yet who they, those who impose, are, and what their personal gain is. We will discuss all that in detail in the future. But what if I told you that what you collectively think is your reality is only a very well-crafted construct, implemented as such by those in power, where they have led you to believe, with arguments and in a very compelling way, many false and limiting ideas, which later on became dogmas? What if I told you that it has been this way for millennia, continually guiding people's perception, always adapting the methods? They don't even hide they are doing this. As in 1981, William J. Casey, CIA director, said publicly, "We will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false."
One of their means to cement those false ideas are, obviously, the media, used to shape the realities for the masses. If you are aware enough, you will already know that the press and the media are completely controlled and not in truth business. They only transmit whatever their owners want the people to think at any given time or about any specific situation. And once that's done, the very population of the earth serves then as a control mechanism or as agents of the created construct. How? By simply believing what they are told, by making that their reality, further securing the collective agreements on any given topic, this way cementing an imposed collective reality. The same goes for science, yet another construct, where what is given to the population in general is not what the ones in control use. Again, we are given a tooth-fairy version of the greater scientific reality, a fraction of what they wish to filter to the public, version that is hijacked by the interests of the powerful few and political or economic agendas, with studies and results accommodated and filtered, only using the ones that are convenient. The same for what is given to humanity in all areas of life: history, medicine, spirituality, education, and the list goes on. And most of the time, a population is so immersed in the dogmas imposed on them in all those fields that they cannot even fathom the possibility that there may be other ways to interpret things outside the imposed truth frame.
And why is that? Why can't they consider that there is more? They can't because they lack the necessary context to see further. Officially, at least, they are not being offered any other larger context. And a person can only understand a concept with the framework of their own mind, with what they already know. No one can see and understand anything outside their own frame of knowledge. They cannot interpret any information if they don't have background to understand it in the first place. They can only understand reality with the concepts they know. And what they know is guided and controlled. Obviously, they cannot see the bigger picture because it is designed that way. The authorities are not going to give them and you that bigger picture. Don't expect that. That bigger picture is not offered to the masses without them having to go and look for it themselves. You need to be able to consider other information, other points of view, especially outside the framework of the official ones, in order to access the larger contexts. And my role here in Space Academy is to offer you some of that missing context, because we believe that the greater your frame of understanding is, you will understand more accurately the world in which you live and your own role in it. As my dear friend once said, if your perception is of the size of a small box, your reality and your universe will be only the right size to fit inside that box. If you have a more expanded perception, your reality will be consequently, and to the same extent, more expanded. The greater the awareness, the greater the perception of reality. It is directly proportional.
Be aware that almost everything official on Earth has a false narrative behind, and a reason to be so. Everything that is going on is synchronized. It is all related to one another, and nothing is only by chance. The reality, as we said above, is the perception of the individual, but it must be something they themselves choose based on all possible information made available to them, and not an imposed reality that has been made up, designed, and orchestrated by a third party, presenting itself as the absolute figure of authority.
Before we end, something crucial to comprehend, and we will go into it more in depth later on too. And that is, why do the ones in power care what we collectively believe? Why do they spend so much effort to guide our perception towards false constructs of realities? Let me help you see the answer to this question sharing a social experiment called Counterclockwise, done by Ellen Langer in 1981, where she put a group of elderly people in a community made to represent life from 1959. They were instructed to live there as if they were 20 years younger for some time. And after a while, not only did they all start to feel much better, but they showed biological effects of age reversal. Are you getting a hint from this story? What's the moral of this experiment? Anyone? Can we see here how important our beliefs are in causing changes, including biological ones, like in this case?
Very important. Your mind, individual and collective, is a powerful tool, and what you throw into it matters. The controllers know this very well, and that's why they dedicate so much effort to fabricate collective beliefs, collective agreements, because that is what further cements realities which they want to generate on Earth. Reality on Earth is managed. You must understand this. And if you control people's perception, you control what people manifest for themselves. This is the great why of mind control on Earth. You only need to implant ideas in the population, agreements about how things should be perceived, and you control what those people create. You have them locked in the matrix.
Wow, matrix. The famous matrix word everyone is always throwing around out there. What is it? The matrix. Well, that will be exactly a subject for the next class. I will explain what the matrix is, as that is one of the most important concepts to understand in Space Academy curriculum. For now, let's go to see what our community members have to say about false realities in their life.
Hi, fellow space cadets. Just thinking about our history. One of the narratives that's happened throughout the history is like with First Nations and Aboriginal. They used kind of religion to come in and convert, take away their ways of life, their history, the way the people think. Like that was one of the false narratives they were using back then. And I feel like we're still doing that today. We're trying to, the governments and big companies are trying to eliminate people of the Amazon, Pacific Island nations, various different cultures that just use oral language. They're trying to eliminate them. And for me, that's a red flag. I feel that they're doing that so that future narrative can be put in place that no other historical narratives could contradict. And by not having those oral histories there and that knowledge, there's nothing to work from to see how things were and compare it to where we're going.
Hello, my fellows in the Space Academy. I started noticing traces of false reality in the news media about 15 or 20 years ago. I paid attention to changes in the TV news and newspaper articles. The change was not so much about facts, but instead one day all the news media changed their attitude or their emotion to a certain topic. To me, it seemed like a coordinated way to influence people's opinions. It made me wonder if somebody is behind this and maybe benefiting from this. People create their own realities largely by perception. What they see and think, what raises emotions, and what they think is possible or not. It's the news media and social media that fill the minds of the people. If not directly, then indirectly through friends, family, co-workers and other social connections. Now, if the news media may change their opinion in a coordinated manner, they can also start twisting the facts or omitting certain topics. They are in a position to manipulate the information that people consume. And if they can do it, somebody will certainly take advantage of this. When the deliberate manipulation of perception goes on for years, decades or even more, the people will base their bubble, their life and future on gradually more and more falsified information. Nowadays, we can say people already live in a kind of illusion or false reality. But it's still reality, even if it's false. People can very well stay in that kind of artificial reality, but they won't actually thrive. It is more like coping. Living in a false reality makes people vulnerable and prone to other further manipulation and exploitation. Misguided people may make terrible personal choices in completely good faith. Their creative power has been influenced, or we can say even hijacked. And that seems to be the basis of the order on this planet at the moment. We who can see and notice this, we can do our part in making our societies healthier by basing our reality in larger understanding.
Aloha, my name is Donna, and I'm going to tell you about the false realities in my area. I'm going to talk about the new kind of noise that is slowly changing the place where I live in Hawaii. Only in the last 2 years, illegal fireworks have somehow been purchased every New Year's and 4th of July. These explosions sound like bombing and can be heard for miles. The recent news media report on burn injuries of the illegal fireworks, but they don't mention the level of bomb-grade blasts. And could this be by design? It's as if they use a holiday tradition to weaponize it. It's true that certain sounds and frequencies can be healing, but it's also true that very loud blasts are deafening and can cause trauma, especially to all the wildlife. How does this relate to false reality? Well, I think the people in the community are being conditioned to believe that warlike blasts is something normal. Can the larger scope of illegal fireworks be to reset the wonderful Polynesian culture of soft-spoken people with weaponized sound?
I realized that we're living a lie since 2001, when the 9/11 happened. As a physics major, I really did not buy into the official narrative that the gasoline burned down the Twin Tower. Since then, I have noticed more of the false reality around us. Inflation. During the COVID, the house price jumped over 60%. Official narrative is supply chain disruption due to COVID lockdown. Here's the challenge. Now lockdown is gone. Why price does not go down? I think people are waking up pretty much everywhere. Now it's just what do we do with it?
Religion. So Adam and Eve, everything is rosy in the Garden of Eden until what? You eat from the tree of knowledge. Who doesn't want more knowledge? How could that ever be punished? How billions of people can believe in something that starts like this should tell you just how compromised our reality really is. You're fine as long as you're a clueless zombie. Our science is used in the same way. Well, if science says so, then you can't question it, right? Theories are not facts. They're theories, but they're forced on us as if they were facts. Our history is garbage. There are structures worldwide that are obviously made by very advanced societies. Politics worldwide is a dog and pony show. It's those pawns. They don't make the decisions. Not important ones anyway. They all report to and are controlled by the same group of people. What they want, what they really, really want, is for you to take sides. And in every case, what happens is conflict that they smooth out with some new insane laws or restrictions that take away more of our freedoms, as always. False science, governments, poison food, the medical cartel, fake history, fake media, schools that indoctrinate, not educate. Analyzing society in depth, you realize everything here is a lie. But in my opinion, the greatest falsity is explaining everything as if all there was here is the physical. So, why would someone want me and everyone on this planet to believe a false reality? They sure spend a lot of time and energy doing it. Well, here's the reason. Because you and me, we create this reality.
There's science, which has become more of a religion, and I'm a medical doctor and I've studied a lot of science myself, and I see that. Science has become so much more, the mainstream science at least, so much another religion, and where everything, the only thing that's real is what's physical and measurable, right? Objectively measurable with physical instruments, and anything beyond that is not real. That's a dogma.
My path into false realities has been long. We had the COVID hit. That was an eye-opener. I was thinking, is this a normal way actually to look at dealing with a health issue? To say that the only answer is vaccine. And then I got intrigued about the WHO, about what they're trying to do. Who are the members of WHO? And that got exemplified in Canada with then the Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, who I realized was acting in a very absolute way, as if there was only, again, one path, one narrative that had to be followed. Quickly found out that he's a member of a thing called the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum. And then started noticing that a lot of the people that were pushing both the vax, the max, were also all members of the WEF. I was thinking, okay, why is it all these people that seem to be members of the WEF are all promoting the same song? That to me didn't make sense. So, as you can suspect, I got introduced to other sources of information that we will consider alternative media. And that's when my eyes started waking up to and saying, wow, holy shit. Everything that I thought to be true and organized and so incredibly brilliant in terms of analysis was in fact coordinated on trying to establish a certain rule. That was my, let's say, real awakening to the realities. With the awakening, essentially realizing that things don't necessarily fit. So pay attention to what resonates and what doesn't. If it doesn't feel right, act accordingly.
Pandemic era, the fact that our government was pushing these policies and recommendations with scare tactics, it made no sense to me. Pretty much any information that would go against the conventional narrative was censored. And I confess, early on, I bought into it. I trusted the authority. But it was the moment that I walked into my local grocery store and some of the employees were making barbecue ribs that I smelled the ribs through my mask. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I can smell large particles from the grill, then of course a virus is going to get in. So why am I wearing this mask? It made no sense whatsoever. And I realized that what was going on was like mind control, fear-inducing, reinforcing messaging. It felt wrong on so many levels. And of course, that made me dig deeper into what's going on. And that, of course, leads one to question, what else are our institutions lying about? Even though it's disillusioning, upsetting when you have these big paradigm shifts, it's good for your own growth to keep questioning, keep an open mind, keep taking in information. Because oftentimes when you take in new information, you don't know what to do with it. You have no frame of reference. When I learn a new concept, it's like a hook that I hang on the wall. And with each new data point, I hang that little bit of information on a hook. And eventually I have a whole bunch of information data points hanging on these hooks, which is context. And then I can start to weave them together into a macrame, a metaphysical macrame of understanding the world and seeing it in a different way. So I'm so excited for all of you who are embarking on this learning journey, and it may seem a little out there or a little upsetting or a little confusing at first, but I encourage you to keep questioning, keep learning, keep an open mind. We're so delighted that you're here and that you want to learn, and you're not alone. And I'm very happy for you. It's thrilling. It's thrilling to have your mind cracked open and to have those walls that you didn't even know existed broken down so that you can actually take in new information. And the more data and context you have, the more life makes sense.
Thank you, guys. It's always good to see participation from you. It's time for you to develop a sense of self-responsibility for your whole person and for what you decide to take as truth. You must form your own and unique criteria. Free your mind. You cannot take anything for granted at all. Forget everything you have learned to be hard facts and realize there aren't any. Start again. You must always be ready to accept a newer point of view that can replace the former if you decide it is better. Never relinquish your capacity to think on your own. See you in the next class.